Um, Hi everyone. We're going to start shortly. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Girls in ICT 2020 online webinar. And thank you for taking your time to join us today, even though it's kind of early on a Sunday morning. So we would first like to open the floor to anyone who might want to introduce themselves. So what you can mention your name, your background, a random fact about yourself. If you want to join in, you have to, if you want, you can disable your camera and unmute yourself. Sorry, you can enable your camera.
Hi, I'm Kevin. It's my first time joining this session, so I got to actually see it from the IG, I think for GDG or something. So I'm just quite interested to see what's the discussion all about. So I'm freelance, so I'm new to this kind of roles anyway.
All right, thank you, Kevin. If anyone would like to join in, you can just unmute yourself.
Maybe we should pick someone to introduce themselves. I see a lot of names here. Okay, let's see. Can I have Chelsea Lim to introduce herself?
Hi, my name is Chelsea. As you said, my name is Chelsea Lim. I'm still a student. I'm studying. I found about this through a mass email we got in ISP. I'm studying computer science and I'm hoping to do that in the future. That's all.
Nice to meet you guys.
So I guess that's all that we're gonna do for the ice breaking. So I'll pass the floor to Mike Schnapp.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Hopefully everybody is having a good morning today. To our Muslim participants, I'd like to wish you all a happy and blessed Ramadan ahead. So thank you for joining us today, everyone. Before we start, I'd like to thank our speakers, Galo and Zinying, for giving their talks. Due to unforeseen circumstances, unfortunately, Kermizi will have to back out and we'd like to apologize for that. So just a little background info on this event. This seminar is held in conjunction with International Girls in ICT Day. It's an initiative by the International Telecommunications Union to create a global environment that empowers girls and young women to consider studies and careers in ICT field. Aside from this seminar, we also have a fun Instagram contest for everyone to participate in. So hopefully after this talk, you guys can follow us on Instagram at aiti.brunei and at Women Tech Makers Brunei for more details. I think that's about it for me. I hope everyone will enjoy the talk. I'll pass the mic to Ida now.
Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum. I hope everyone is doing well, and to those who are fasting, happy fasting, Salam Ramadan. So I'm just going to inform you guys, maybe you guys can change it to speaker view at the top somewhere there, yeah. So it'll be easier for you guys later when you guys look at the slides. It's going to be shown on the screen. It'll be bigger rather than looking at it as a top view. So first of all, thank you for participating in our first online event. So clap your hands. You can also so on Zoom, there's also a reaction button. You can click at the bottom to as you can see, I have a clap button. So you guys can do that anytime just to, I don't know, just to hype us up, I guess. So I think I just want to share a few things as well, just as a reminder. For people, okay, hold on. Let me share my screen. I hope everyone can see my screen. So for those who have not seen the info pack, you can go to this link to see the info pack. So we have all the information there, whatever you need to know, because so for today, the activities would be, you'll be listening to the talk given by Gallo and also singing. And then we also have a competition. So we'll be having a quiz competition using Kahoot. You don't need to install anything for Kahoot. You just need to go to this link. Before I forget, so we will also have question and answer sessions after every talk. The way we pick up your questions is using Slido, however you pronounce it. So you just have to go to this link, sli.do, and then use this number 77367. Make sure you note this down because, or get it from the info pack that I noted down earlier. And then for Kahoot, you just need to go to kahoot.it, and then we will give you the code of the quiz just before the competition. So we'll give you time to register yourself and go into the to the page. So yeah, so for Kahoot, make sure if you're the winner or you're second, third, or even up to I think 6th place, just in case the first, second, third didn't claim their prizes, we might give it to the 4th, 5th, 6th places. So please screenshot your screen as proof, or you didn't win. So this is how we know who's the winner. And it's better later for the Kahoot, you use your real name so that, we can just look back to see that you're that person. Yeah, so I think that's it that you all need to be in front of for now. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat as well. There's also a chat forum on Zoom, how you can access it using Control-H on your screen, or just look for the chat button. Oh, okay, someone says, please place the link up again. Okay, so I'm just gonna share the info pack link. Okay. So I'm just going to share the info pack link again so that you can get all the information that I've posted on the screen just now in the info pack. Has everyone got it? I'm just going to give a minute for people to copy that down. Everyone's got it? Okay, so all the links that you need are actually inside this info pack, the Kahoot link, the Slido link as well. So for the Slido, anytime you have questions throughout the presentation, you can just post it there, and then we will choose the questions and then give the questions to the presenter during the Q&A session. So we'll pick a few questions. For those whose questions have not been chosen, don't worry, the speaker will get back to you, maybe through the chat or privately text you from Zoom or put it somewhere, I guess. But yeah, so that's how you ask questions and answers. So make sure to just post up your questions anytime throughout the presentation that you do have questions. Okay, so I'll stop the share now. I think you got the link, right? Okay. Yeah, thank you for posting. How do you pronounce the name? Okay. Also, just to inform you, one of our speakers can't make it. Yeah, so due to unforeseen circumstances, so apologies on her behalf as well. Hold on. What else do I need to cover? So about the prizes for the event, yeah, I'm not gonna I'm just gonna give hints. So the sponsors for our the people who the prizes are going to be from Goma Mom, Hey Domo, and also so those are those are food related stuff. So who doesn't love free food, right? And also we have some, I think, something that can help you guys stream Netflix sometime in the near future, I suppose. Well, to make it productive, don't just use it for Netflix. Use also for maybe I don't know, online sessions. So that's just a hint. I can't really tell much more. So I think that's it. Also, just to inform you, this whole stream is actually streamed via YouTube. So whoever's videos are on the screen will also be available on YouTube. So if you do have a problem with that, you can just hide your videos. So I think that's all from me. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first speaker of the day. So our first speaker of the day, her name is Gallo. I think if you've been to our Deaf Fest, you would know her because she was one of the speakers during our Deaf Fest last year as well. So Gallo is a data scientist at Gojek, Indonesia. So Gojek is quite a big company actually in Indonesia. And she's also a Google developer expert in machine learning. Other hats she wears would include co-host of the Kartini Technology Podcast, Mozilla Tech Speaker, and co-organizer of Global Diversity CFP Day, Jakarta. She's passionate about harnessing data and machine learning for societal impact. When not in front of her laptop, you can find her reading and sketching. So those are just a few things about Gallo. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the screen now to Gallo. So Gallo, so if you guys want to just give a round of applause or hands, just use the, yeah. Okay, Gallo, passing it to you.
Sorry, I'm still muted. Hi, everyone. How are you? So yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much, Ida, for the introduction. So yeah, it's very nice to see you all, and I hope you're all having a great day so far. Right, so enough introduction. I will start to share my screen. Okay. Yeah. All right, so can you see my screen now? Is it cool? Okay, cool. Okay, so the talk that I'm going to give today is titled First Steps Towards Your First Machine Learning Project. So I am very excited to give this talk because this is something that is very close to my heart, actually. And the reason why I want to give this talk is because a lot of people have asked me like how to get started with machine learning. And I understand that this is a very normal question because there are many, many ways to get started with machine learning. And I also asked people like this question a few years ago. And the most common answer that I got was, oh, you have to study these online courses. And I tried, but honestly, it didn't work too well for me because I consider myself as a kind of like a builder kind of person. So it's very hard for me to grasp the concept of something unless I really try it first. I think it's going to be different for everyone, but that's how it was for me. So if this is the case for you too, I hope that this talk resonates with you. So yeah, I decided to, you know what, I'll just like build a machine learning project as a way for me to learn. And it actually turned out pretty well because I ended up with a few projects for my portfolio. And when I later took more theoretical courses, it was easier for me to understand what's going on. So yeah, in this talk, I want to discuss about some things that you may need to know before you build your first machine learning project, regardless of what your background in machine learning is. So this is the outline of the talk. First, I'm going to talk about some ideas and inspiration about what kind of machine learning project that you can build. Second, I'm going to talk about formulating your machine learning problem. And the third one, I'm going to share some tools and resources that you can use. Okay, so when I tell people to like build a machine learning project, usually the next question that people ask is, what should I build? So that's what I'm going to discuss in this section. First, I think it has to be something that you enjoy. You know, people usually associate machine learning with, you know, robots, self-driving cars, lots of big words, but I think there are a whole lot other machine learning applications out there that are already around us that you probably use every day. And since we have a wide array of choices of ML projects, I think it's very possible for you to create something that is like very close to your heart or is something that you truly care about. So this is an example of an application that uses machine learning, which is an automatic playlist by Spotify. So as a refresher, machine learning is you know, the process of training a piece of software called a model to make useful predictions using a data set. Now, what this predictive model does is that it can serve up predictions about previously unseen data. So we will use these predictions to like take action in the product. So concrete example like this application, the application will predict that, you know, these songs belong to the same group or the same cluster or the same genre that the user likes. So the system will like recommend these songs to me because it thinks that I might like it. So if you like music, you can, you know, take inspiration and build something like this, like build a very simple music recommender system. So a next example is the Google Assistant that exists in tools like Google Home, among others, or maybe in your phone as well. So the reason why Google Assistant can understand what you're saying is also because of machine learning, because it's trying to predict the words that you are saying. So if you are interested in language or speech recognition, you may want to build a project like a simpler, very much simpler version of Google Assistant that can recognize, you know, doesn't have to recognize everything that you say, but maybe just a couple of comments as a start. So yeah, I personally tend to gravitate towards things that I like. So for example, if you like sports, maybe you can build a model that predicts championship winners based on past history. If you're into literature, you can like create a text generator that writes in the style of like famous authors, for example, Hemingway. If you like movies, you can build a system that classifies movie review sentiments. So lots of ideas out there. Yeah, I think it has to be something that you enjoy because personally, I find it hard to build something that I don't really care about. And it's very easy for me to give up if I'm building something I don't like. So I'm not into football, so building a project related to it is not really something that I want to work on for hours. So when you're working on a machine learning project, especially if it's your first project, it can take you hours or even days or maybe weeks, and that's okay. I mean, we're not competing with anyone. It's not a matter of who gets it done first, but if it's not something that I enjoy, I don't think I can work on it for hours. The second one is that it has to be something you're interested in. And if, you know, usually you may already have some intuition about the problem, which will help you in building the project. So say that you're building a system that predicts a song genre. And if you like music and you find that your system misclassifies rock songs into pop music a lot, you may have some idea, like for example, maybe they have like similar beats per minute. So the solution is you need to find another feature that differentiates which one is rock and which one is pop song. So in real life, you may need to do more statistical analysis to do this, but at least having this kind of intuition will like drive you to the right direction. I think it also does not have to be something very complicated or novel because the reason is we want to learn. And so when I showed you like Spotify or Google Home, it doesn't mean that we have to build those things because in real life, actually, a lot of people built those. And it also took a very long time to build those products. So what I'm trying to say is that we can find inspiration from things that you like or things that you use and you really care about, and try to like build a much simpler version of those things. So yeah, it doesn't have to be something like totally novel, totally new, never been done before, especially if this is just a project you want to learn from. So don't worry about, I've seen people build something like this. So if the point is to learn, just build it. Okay, so next, I'm gonna talk about how you can formulate your machine learning problem. I think this is a very helpful step before you build your project. And sometimes starting a new project can be very overwhelming, but I think this is a very good start. Okay, so oftentimes people talk about machine learning as having two paradigms, which is supervised and unsupervised learning. And I think knowing these paradigms will help you to determine the things that you need to consider for your project. So for example, I'm gonna start with supervised learning. So supervised learning is a type of machine learning where the model is provided with labeled training data. This is an example. So for example, you are a botanist. You want to differentiate between two species of a plant. And the two species looks pretty similar. But fortunately, you have a data set of the plants that you already collected in the jungle. So leaf width and leaf length here are the features, while the species is the label. So features are measurements or like descriptions. And the label is essentially the answer. For example, the goal of the data set here is to help other botanists answer the question like, which species is this plant? So a real life botanical data set would probably contain way more features like description of flowers, blooming times, arrangement of leaves, but they will actually still only have like one label. And also the examples in real life will probably need more than four plants. Now, the features and their corresponding labels will be fed into an algorithm in a process that we call as training. And what happens during training is that the algorithm will gradually determine the relationship between the features and the labels. Now, this relationship is the one that we call as the model. So suppose that we graph the leaf width and length, and then we color code the species. And suppose that the model resulting from the training process can be represented as a line that separates the big leaf from the small leaf. Now that the model exists, you can use this model to classify new plants that you find. So for example, we have this new row here that we didn't have before with a totally new width and totally new length that the model has never seen before. We can use the model to try and predict and our prediction, for example, let's say that the prediction is a small leaf based on the data that it was trained on. So to tie it all together, supervised machine learning helps find patterns between the data and labels that can be expressed as expressed mathematically as functions. So given an input feature, you are telling the system what the expected output label is, like you are like supervising the training, and the machine learning system will try to learn patterns on this labeled data. And in the future, the system will use these patterns to make predictions on data that it did not see during the training. Okay, so there are several subclasses of machine learning problems. For example, is classification. So this is a type of machine learning model that distinguishes among two or more discrete classes. And a subclass of classification is binary classification. So you have two categories to pick from. For example, is this a picture of a cat or a dog, or is this email a spam or not spam? So those are examples of binary classification. And then you also have multi-class classification. So here you have more than two categories to pick from. So is it a comedy, horror, or drama, and so on and so forth. And next, we also have regression. So the difference here is that regression is a type of model that outputs continuous values. So for example, what is the price of the house? What is the temperature? The output here is a continuous value instead of like categories. Another example I want to discuss is unsupervised learning. So the difference here is that in unsupervised learning, the goal is to identify meaningful patterns in the data. And to accomplish this, the machine must learn from an unlabeled data set. So in other words, the model doesn't have any hints on how to categorize each piece of data and must infer its own rules for doing so. The most common method is cluster analysis, which is used for exploratory data analysis to find hidden patterns or groupings in data. I will show you some concrete example later. So here we have some graph, which is all the examples are the same shape and colors because we don't have the labels to differentiate, right? And say that, so you have to determine like how many clusters you want to have. For example, you have 2 clusters. So during unsupervised learning, each data point will be assigned to one of the 2 clusters. So a practical example is you want to find topics in a set of documents. So you want to get 2 topics. You define that number yourself, but you still don't know like what these topics are. After unsupervised learning, you have 2 groups. And when you take a look at the data, you see that, oh, group A talks about sports news and group B is a document about entertainment news. So now you know what those topics are. And if you have more clusters, you will get more detailed topics. So if it's 4 groups, maybe you will get soccer, tennis, movies, and music, or maybe other topics will come up. So for example, instead of only sports and entertainment, it turns out you discover there is a food category, which initially was misclassified into entertainment. So that's an example. So yeah, the key here is that if your problems fall into a supervised learning problem, you will need a data set that is already labeled. Meanwhile, for unsupervised learning, it's okay if your data doesn't have the labels. And knowing this will also help you narrow down the possible approach that you're going to use. Because for example, if you're dealing with a supervised learning problem like classification, you're probably not going to do clustering analysis. But regardless which paradigm your program or like project falls to, both of these paradigms need data for the machine to learn from. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. So yeah, so for identifying data sources, there are a couple of things that you can do. For example, you can use ready-to-use data set. You can extract the data from existing data sources, or you can like build your own data set from scratch. Okay, so where can we find these ready-to-use data sets? I'm going to share some like really cool resources that you can use. So for the first one, you can go to Google Research. So yeah, this is a website where Google releases all the data sets that they have that you can use. So from image data set, video data set, audio data sets, you can find them here. And so yeah, we also have Google data sets. So the difference between the previous one is that in here, they don't only come from Google, but these are also data sets that come from all over the world, from other organizations, for example, World Bank and other. And you can also like filter, for example, oh, I want image data sets because I'm processing image. So you can filter that also. And there is also Kaggle dataset. So if you do not know Kaggle, Kaggle is an online community of data scientists and machine learning practitioners. So users can upload their own data sets. But since since anyone like can upload their own data set, it's very important for you to verify whether the data set is legit or not. Some things I want to note, oftentimes, although I said that they're like ready to use data set, but actually data cleansing, manipulation, and transformations are still necessary. And you need to know the labels that you expect as well. So this is why it's very important for you to formulate the ML model so you will know what kind of data set that you need. For example, let's say you want to build a system that predicts sentiment of movie reviews, if it's positive or not. And when you're like trying to search like movie data sets, there will actually be a lot of data sets. For example, they have ratings as labels, and some of them have other metrics that are irrelevant to us. So actually for this problem, you need to find a data set that contains positive or negative label. So this is the data set that is relevant to our problem. So yeah, by formulating our problem, we know like what kind of like data set we should look for. Okay, so for example, you can also like extract the data by yourself. So here you usually do this, for example, for social media data, or for example, if you want to scrap news data, like the data is not ready yet, so you have to like scrap them for yourself. So for example, let's say you want to scrap Twitter data, and there are a lot of example of applications. For example, you want to perform a sentiment analysis on tweets about Chris Evans, the actor that like plays Captain America. You can do sentiment analysis, but at this point you should realize that, okay, if you want to do sentiment analysis, you have to have the positive and negative label, and sometimes you have to do this yourself, or you have to like ask for outside help to like label this. There are also applications that you don't need the label, for example, topic detection. So this is like the unsupervised learning application that I mentioned earlier. So for example, the results of the analysis is, for example, 50% of the tweets are talking about Chris Evans' TV series, 20% is about the Avengers, and 20% is about the Golden Globes. So you don't need the label. Don't need the labels for topic detection. Yeah, but one thing I want to note, it can be time consuming since you also need to write the code like for the social media or the web scrapers. But actually, like it's okay because it actually happens a lot, especially if if you're working on a project where you don't have like the ready to use data set. You can also like build your own data set from scratch. So for example, you want to build a bird audio data set by recording sounds of different birds. So assume that it doesn't exist, so you need to build one. So it can be time consuming, especially if you need a lot of data, and you need to ensure that the way your data is collected actually suits the real world condition. So yeah, for example, if you're going to use this to identify birds in the jungle, in which there might be other interfering sounds in the jungle, for example, sounds of other animals, you need to make sure that you record the sounds in an environment that is similar to the jungle, right? Otherwise, your system will not be able to make a good prediction when it hears like bird sounds that occur with other noises in the jungle. Okay, so right now, I think at this point, we know that, for example, the problem statement of the project, like for example, our problem is best framed as three class classification, which predicts whether a video will be in one of the 3 classes, etc., etc. So at this point, you know like what data you need to process, you know like whether you need labeled data or not. So for example, in this case, you may need labeled data of like very popular, somewhat popular, and so on. And you may also like know like possible algorithms for your project that you can try. So now I want to share like some tools and resources that you can use. So these are like programming languages that I have personal experience with, but of course you can build projects with other programming languages as well. So Python is usually the go-to programming language because they have like all of these very complete libraries. But we can also do machine learning with JavaScript thanks to TensorFlow JS. So if you know JavaScript and you have not checked TensorFlow JS, please do it because there are a lot of cool things that you can do with it. So yeah, next I want to talk about libraries. So this is assuming that we use Python because it's one, it's one I've had most experience with. And also this is not an exhaustive list. So there are actually a lot of libraries out there that you can use. And as you might notice, the libraries that you will use actually kind of like depend on the data that you process. So it's very, very helpful to know how to properly formulate your problem because that's where you know like what data you will process, is it image or is it text and so on. So if you are dealing with tabular data or lots of numbers, you can use NumPy or Pandas. And you can also use these if you deal with text data too. So basically overall data manipulation. And for natural language processing, you can use NLTK and Spacey, for example, and these are all open source libraries too. If you are dealing with image data, there are Pillow and OpenCV. And if you want to do machine learning, you can use scikit-learn. And of course, you can also use TensorFlow. So one library I want to highlight is TensorFlow Lite. So it is an open source deep learning framework for on-device inference. So you can use this if you want to deploy machine learning models on like mobile and IoT devices. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, this is another resource that I'm, I really love. So if you don't want the hassle of like training your own model from scratch, especially if you're dealing with a classification problem, you can use Teachable Machine to do it. So you can like create a classification model right on the website, and all you need to do is to take images or sounds or record poses right on the website. And you can just like click train model and then the model will appear. So this model can be used for you to serve in a web application, for example. You just need to load it and connect it. And connect it to like input sources like webcam, and that's it. You can use it to also like, you can teach it using images that you upload or capture through the webcam, or record the sounds, or like record body positions through webcam. So it's very hassle-free. And another resource I want to share is TensorFlow Hub. So TensorFlow Hub is a library. It contains reusable machine learning models that you can use for your own application. So these models are already trained by someone else on a certain data set. So all you need to do is that you just need to load it and use it. Or you can also like retrain it on a new, smaller data set that you have using a technique called transfer learning. So sadly, I don't have time to explain it, but if you have time to search for it, it can really help you a lot when you build your own applications. So yeah, this opens up a whole new possibility because you can access models that other people have built. So you don't need to build it from scratch. And one of the interesting model that I found is Mobile Bird. So this model is actually trained on a question and answer data set. And it's also already available for TensorFlow JS and TensorFlow Lite. So you can just like use it directly. And you can also use it to create applications such as like this Google Chrome extension, where you can like find an answer to your question on the website right away. Like resources if you want to get started with machine learning. And also if you're more like a hands-on tutorial kind of person, you can check out the TensorFlow tutorials and Teachable Machine tutorials as well. So yeah, and the takeaways. So first one is that building machine learning projects can be a very great way for you to learn machine learning. And the second one is that machine learning projects don't have to be super fancy or super complicated. They just have to be something that you enjoy, especially if this is like for your learning process. And next is that the process of formulating your machine learning problem can help you to figure out your next steps. Like for example, what data to collect, what tools to use, possible algorithms. And there are also lots of resources and tools out there to help you. So I hope this talk inspires you to build your own machine learning project. And if you have any question, just ask or reach out to me on Twitter, or ask questions after this. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Hi everyone, so sorry for just now. Thank you, Gallo, for everything. So we have a few questions on Slido right now, actually. So let's just move on to the questions and answer. So I think the first question that you got was, is machine learning similar to programming and coding?
Sorry, similar to programming what? Can you repeat?
So the first question is machine learning similar to programming and coding?
So yeah, I actually do have a graph that can explain that. So let me look it up for you. Hold on. So okay, can I share my screen again? I want to show this. What is it? Yep, share. Okay, let's check. Okay, so this is from a presentation that other Google developer expert made. His name is Syed Paul. So I think it can answer your question. So basically, the difference between traditional programming and machine learning is that, for traditional programming, you usually like give computer like the rules and the data. So for example, you give data and then you give the rules, like for example, if the value is this, then do this. If this, then that, and so on. So you have to define like all of these like rules by yourself. And then you will get the answers based on, all of these rules. But when it comes to machine learning, instead of like giving the rules, you will give the computers like the data and the answers. So for example, like the answers are like the labels that I showed you earlier. For example, like the data is, for example, like images of animals. And then the answers are like, okay, this image is a cat. This image is a panda. This image is a bird, and so on and so forth. And then the machine learning will try to learn the rules themselves. They will try to like infer like, okay, so a bird tends to look like, based on the data that a Gallo gives, for example, a bird tends to, have wings. They tend to have, they have 2 feet. And if panda tends to, like have black and white and so on. So they learn the rules by themselves. When you're using like traditional programming, you may like have to like, like define the rules. For example, hey, a panda looks like this. It has like a black, if you see black and white in the image, if you see like 2 ears, if you see a head or and so on, that's a panda. But for a lot of like complicated problems, it's it's gonna take a long time, right, to like define all of those rules by themselves. So that's like where machine learning comes in, because with machine learning you can just like give the data, you can give the images, and you can just give okay, this is a panda, this is a cat, this is a bird. I don't care how you learn it, you just have to learn it by yourself. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
So I think we have time for one or two more questions. There's a lot of questions for you. Let's pick one. Someone asked if the slides will be available after the talk.
Yeah, I think, oh, I already have this, I think I already have the link. Let me give it in the chat. Okay, so this is the link to my talk. Yeah, let me know if you can access it. I think everyone should have access.
And someone asked, are ready-to-use dataset considered as pre-made models?
So I think it's not pre-made models, more like, because although like the data set is ready to use, if you don't have the model, like you still have to like train the model yourself, right? I think pre-made model is more like a model that is already trained on an existing data set. So, yeah, I think if you have a ready to use data set, there are like two options. Like one option is that, you don't need to train the data yourself. So you use the pre-made model, but you can also like build your own model on top of an existing like ready to use data set. So yeah.
And I think we have time for one last question. So this is the question with 2 likes. So someone asked, for beginners, which learning resources can be easier to use?
Okay, so I think it's I think it's different. The preference for people might be different, but I personally enjoy the tutorials that I shared with you in the talk, because they're like more hands-on. So I think if you have if you're more like a theoretical person, I think there are a lot of machine learning courses on Coursera or other online courses. But if you're more like a tutorial, I want to try this and that person, I think the tutorials that I gave in the end of the talk, in the slides, you can check out in the slides. I think they are great resources to start with.
Right. Thank you, Galo. So
thank you.
We'll move on to your Kahoot quiz in a bit. So for the slides, after the end of the webinar, we will send the speaker's slides to everyone. Yeah. So don't worry about that. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so just another reminder, make sure that you're signed into Kahoot right now. You can go to kahoot.it, or if you have the Kahoot app, you can use that. I hope you all can see my screen. So this is just another reminder to please use your real name on Kahoot as well. And the name has to be in sync with the name that you use on Zoom right now. And I guess we'll give it a few minutes since we have about 43 participants. We'll wait until it reaches above 35. Okay, so we're almost at 35 now. So we'll just give it a few more minutes. Okay, we'll just start about. So I hope you're all ready. So if you haven't played Kahoot before, basically we have a trial right now. So I'm just gonna start it. Okay, so basically the first person who chooses the right answer gets the most point. So that's the first question, and you'll have like all these. The question is the first player to tap on red will get the most points. So you should tap on red. Okay. So what is TensorFlow's deep learning framework? So it's TensorFlow Lite. Oh, no one got that right. Okay. So for question number 3, what is TensorFlow's JavaScript machine learning library called? Okay. Oh, good job. Okay. Oh, okay. So Chelsea Lim is number 1 right now. Okay, so next question. What is the web tool shown in the talk that makes it fast and easy to create machine learning models? She mentioned this in her resources. Ah, good job. So, okay. Okay, so next question. By the way, there's a total of 10 questions overall. So we'll start with the next one. What is the temperature in Paris tomorrow is a blank problem. And the answer is regression. Wow, that's one. Good job. So on to question number 6. Which machine learning problem is an example of unsupervised learning? Yeah, and it's clustering. By the way, guys, if you want to Google the answer, you can, but it will take a long time. It will take longer for you to get the answer. Oh, and this one's like leading still. So which one of these is not textual data that we can use for machine learning projects? Yeah. Images of pandas. Okay. And Li Wei is leading now with Habibah and Nadswan. Okay, on to the next question. If I want a system to classify movie reviews into positive and negative, which data is more suitable? Yeah, IMDb movie reviews. Okay. And oh, we still have leeway at first place. That's good. And number 9, the language model BERT stands for. This is a tricky one. Bidirectional encoder representations from transformers. Okay. Oh, good job, Habiba. And the second last question. You can train computers to recognize the following teachable machines except. Except text. Yeah, it was on the image, guys. So, oh, Chelsea's back at number 1. Okay, so we're on to our last question now. I hope you guys are ready. And is the voice of a dog, a bird, a cat, or a grasshopper? This is a question. This question is a blank problem. It's a multi-class classification problem. Okay, so now we're gonna go look at the scoreboard. So we have Liwei at 3rd, Linlet at 2nd. Oh, good job, Chelsea. Yay. So just to remind you guys, please, so the winners, can you please screenshot your phone or whichever devices you're using right now and make sure that your username is shown under, your username for Kahoot is shown as well. And in the end, you can, after the talk, you can send this to AITI and Women Tech Makers Group. And I will remind you after all the talks, yeah? And now, so we skipped our break just now and we're supposed to have another Kahoot quiz in about 3 minutes. So this would be a bonus round. It's just general knowledge in ICT if you guys would want to participate. And for this, invite Ida over.
Okay.
So Ida will be moderating this round.
I'm just waiting for my team. Okay. Hi. So sorry about the Zoom bomb previously, but congrats to the winners. So don't forget to screenshot, like I said, or it will be null. So I think we'll continue the new quiz. So because the other speaker, she canceled, so we decided to put in a new quiz, sort of like some general questions on girls in ICT as well as general questions in ICT. So it might be easy, it might be hard. It might even be question, what color shirt was Ida wearing? I don't know. So let's see, let me share my screen now. Can everyone see? Okay. Actually, this is like a sound, but I don't know how to put it on. Okay, just gonna wait for people to come in. This music's not playing anymore. I think we'll just wait for a few more. I'm gonna start in a minute. Okay, I think no one else is coming in, so I'm just gonna start it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. First question, it's just a test question. You won't get any points, but you know, if you answer it fast. Come on, 4 more people, right? 3 more people. I feel sorry for people who have slow internet but fast fingers, because you guys will still lose. Okay, so that was a test round. So I'm just gonna start with the first question where you will get points. So currently the fastest finger is Sharifa. Okay. Okay, the first question, what is this device? And the picture should show up on your screen. Is it a CD player? Is it a router? Is it Wi-Fi? Is that how a Wi-Fi looks like? It's a router, technically Wi-Fi router, but yeah. Okay, next, let's see. Chelsea, you're leading. Last round you were leading as well at 1 point, right? So just gonna, where is online storage kept? What's online storage? In a storage container, in billions of USB sticks. Yep, in a Word document. I think that's the right answer. 5 more people. Someone answered, it gets evaporated into the cloud and it becomes rain. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, I think the cloud is a throw off, like people would get confused because, you know, cloud. No, you're leading. Chelsea, you became number 3. You need to click faster. Okay, next question. Who is considered the world's first computer programmer? For those who have never took computing, might be confusing, but just make a, you know, make a quick guess. Ada Lovelace, Dr. Erna Hoover. Wow, a lot of people know this. I'm surprised. I guess there's a lot of people who pay attention in ICT class. Okay, yeah, Ada Lovelace was considered the first computer programmer. I don't remember what year, but yeah, you can Google that later. So Chelsea, nice. You took my advice and clicked fast. So next question, what does ISP stands for? ISP, in superpower. Makes sense. Internet super provider. Incoming sensitive protection. Ooh, nice. Almost a lot of people got it. I think the people who answered that maybe clicked too fast and didn't read. It was actually super. But yeah, okay, good. Let's see. Wow, Hazira, you're on a streak, but you need to answer more questions faster than you get maybe top questions. Chelsea still leading. Congrats, Chelsea. What is a bad programming on your computer? I mean, what is a bad program on your computer? Are pirated movies bad? MS Paint? Yeah, they're kind of useless. Computer virus and executable. Nice. No one answered MS Paint. Okay, pirated movies. Well, I mean, they're bad for the media business, I guess, Hollywood and all that, but they're good for us. Kong, Chelsea got 2nd place. Zira is still on the 4th place. There's only one guy here. Yay, girls. To put something extra in an email, such as a photo or a document, is to delete, click, attach, or another email. Let's see if anyone answers. Wow, someone answered another email. I wouldn't want to give you my email because it'll be annoying. You're gonna spam me with lots of emails. Okay, good, nice. That was easy actually. Kong is leading still. Who was critical to landing astronauts on the moon for the first time on 20th July 1969? Oh, her picture is on the screen. Does anyone recognize her? Ada Lovelace's name is there again, and she was the first programmer. Was she also the first person to land astronauts on the moon for the first time? We shall see. Ooh, okay. I think during Ada Lovelace period, there was no people landing on the moon. It was earlier than 1969. But yeah, Margaret Hamilton, the girl in the picture. So the books next to her, you know, like the piled up books, that's all her program, like written program. So impressive. Kong still leading, and shoot, out of nowhere, a new name came by. 3rd is Chelsea Lim. Hazira, come on, faster fingers. Okay, to remove a document from a computer is to click it, delete it, transfer it, hover over it. How do you delete documents on your computer? Someone click transfer it. Well, technically, I guess if you click copy, it's not really removing, but maybe if you cut it, it's removing, but we didn't specify. But yeah, deleting it. Who answered the yellow one? Kong still leading. Okay, 10th question. Which of the following is not a browser? Not a browser. Is it Word? Not a browser. No, oh, okay. No. You guys didn't know that Opera is actually a browser. Okay, so I guess some people, I'm thinking you guys are born like later after the 90s because Opera was quite famous for our like I think Symbian phones or something. Consolidating. Okay, the next question. What is the internet? Is it Google? Is Google the internet? Is it a computer? Is it the cables between computers? Is it the connections between computers? I actually don't know what the answer for this one is. I know it's not the computer. Is it? Okay. Yeah, the internet is not Google, sadly. Google is part of the internet, but it's not the internet. Consolidating. Where are the other people? Okay, next. What does ICT stand for? Like girls in ICT, what does the ICT stand for? Is it I can't tell? That's the best guess you can make. The honest guess, you can't tell. Okay, yeah. That's a close call. Consolidating, wow. Good one, Kong. Okay, the last 3 questions. What is this? If you see on the sides of your laptop or on your CPU, you'll see the sign, the symbol. What is it? Is it a computer port? Is it a SD card reader? Is it a disk drive? Interesting. Some people think it's the disk drive. Okay, next. I think because, you know, that's where you plug in if you want to put in your hard disk. So makes sense. But yeah, it's called a port. Consolidating. Last 2 questions. I mean, 3 questions more. 2 questions more. Which of the following Victoria's Secret models are coders? Choose 2. So, like we wanted to post a Victoria's Secret model picture there, you know, just as a hint, but then it's Ramadan, so. Ooh, so the 2 Victoria's Secret model coders are actually Carly Kloss and Lindsay Scott. Wow, actually a lot of people know. Yeah, this was, you know, this is fun fact. Can Google it. Consolidating, nice. Very far ahead too. It's already in the 16,000. Okay, last 2 questions. What color is this code? Hashtag 0000000. Any graphic designers I think would know this. Any web designers as well, I think you should know this. Most common color. Yeah, so hashtag 0000000 is black. It's also on Photoshop. It's also, I think, is it on Paint? I don't know. I haven't used Paint in a while. Oh, Zira, she jumped, she leaped. Like, I don't know how many people she leaped over, but yeah. Okay, last question. You saw what an ISP is. Now, what is an IP address? Is it an ISP? Is it a personal address of computer? Kind of easy actually for this one. If you're into acronyms and abbreviations, you know, like just put 2 and 2 together. Yay, yeah, it's Internet Protocol address. Oh no, it's personal. I got it wrong. Oh my gosh, I didn't make this question. Okay, the winner is dun, 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 dun. Kong, you're number 1. Number 2 is Zira. Number 3 is Desmond. Don't forget to screenshot. And for the people who got number 4, 5, 6, just screenshot just in case they failed to claim their prizes. Then maybe you will get the prizes. And I think that's it for the quiz. The extra quiz that we have. I'm going to stop sharing now. So that's the last, not the last quiz, but that's the quiz. So now, without further ado, I think we will, oh, by the way, I forgot. So after you screenshot it, you can email it to the email that's in the info pack. Or I think, Maj, if you don't mind putting your email on the chat box, so people can email their proof there that they won. Okay, so the next speaker, I'm going to introduce her. The next speaker is Xin Ying. So Xin Ying is a software developer working with Google Cloud Platform. I think she also did talks during DevFest of last year and also the recent International Women's Day on the 8th of March. She also did, I think for both she did Google Cloud Platform talks. So she enjoys learning by building fun projects to share with others. So hopefully we'll get to see her project during her talk. So let's give a round of applause with the reaction button for Xin Ying. I'm gonna pass it to her. Xin Ying.
Give me a second. Myself. Yes. Okay, great. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see my screen. No, cannot. There you go. I will be talking about data analytics with a BigQuery. My screen sharing is paused. Okay, great. So we're talking about data analytics with a BigQuery. Essentially, it's like Excel, but bigger. As long as you've worked with data, you probably have bumped into a situation where you have a lot of data and you're not sure what to do. So I'm here to suggest something. Right. So let's say you are a data analyst from a bike share startup, and you have a lot of data. So here's an example. So if you have a bike share startup, that's basically like Uber for bikes, right? So you have information from each of your bikes saying, hey, we have in this day, for example, this many trips. For each trips, it's starts at this time, it ends at this time, it starts from this station and ends at this station, which you can see here. And you have total of how long it takes for you to make the trip. So you want to improve your business. You want to try and maybe get more stations, bike stations available. So you have to analyze the data to see where would be best to put in your bike station. So how would you do it? Your first intuition might tell you to just dump it in a Microsoft Excel file, but the problem with that is it has a limit of about slightly over 1 million rows. The data set that I showed you earlier has actually
about 2 million rows. So Excel is out of table. You can spin up your own local database servers, but that means you have to control it yourself. You have to manage the database. If your database is out of storage, you have to spin up more clusters. You have to make sure they're all connected, things like that. It can be quite tiring. Otherwise, you have to hire a database administrator. So what about putting it instead on the cloud, where the underlying infrastructure is all managed by a service provider? In this case, we'll be talking about BigQuery today, which is part of the Google Cloud Platform. And what it is it's a petabyte scale data warehouse. So it can handle very large amounts of data at a very fast pace. So it supports very fast querying. So terabytes in seconds, petabytes in minutes. I believe there was a demo recently where they did about 4 petabytes in, a petabyte in 4 minutes. And so that amounts to about 4 terabytes per second. So that was very fast. It's also fully managed, so and it's scalable. So you just put in your data. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm out of storage, I need to provision more servers. Google will handle everything for you in the backend. It's also reliable. So all your data will be stored in data centers around the world, and you can actually choose which data center you would like, which is closer to you. They also replicate it within the regional clusters. So here are the available regional locations. Can you see which is closest to us? It's Singapore. Next would be Hong Kong. I believe there might be Indonesia soon. So how do you use it? 3 steps, very easy. So first, import your data. Number 2, run a query. Then 3, you save the results of the query. Then you can do you can turn it into a nice report, for example. So I will show you a demo of how it is done. So this is the BigQuery console. You just have to go to console.cloud.google.com to access it. Then you have to select BigQuery. So this is roughly how it looks like. This is where you write your query. And all this is data sets. So you can upload your own data sets. So you can import your own to, for example, this is your project name. So for each, in Google Cloud Platform, you have to create a project, and then you can do things. So for this project, I have this data set for bikes, and I can create a table and then import more. You can upload CSV files, import your own data, or you could also use publicly available data. So Google provides, hosts a lot of free publicly available data, so you can easily access it and use it for your own research, for your own projects, things like that. There's a lot of, you can see here, there's a lot of interesting ones. For example, Austin's bike share, we have baseball, we have census data. We also have COVID-19 data. So data about the number of confirmed cases in different countries and locations. We'll look at that later. So the one we're going to use now is the San Francisco bike share. So in this data set, there's 4 tables. So we're going to use the one that will tell us all about the trips. So this data set contains information about each trip taken by a bike in a bike share over a period of time. So you can see roughly what does the table look like. Here's a schema. So firstly, we have the trip ID, we have the duration of the trip, we have when did it start, when did it end, we have the start station name, things like that. And you can see the type here and all that information you need. So to write the query, I've pre-written one. We're going to try and, this is all the data for each individual trip. So if I preview it, you can see here, these are all the individual trips, but I want to aggregate them to get how many trips have been taken on this date. So I'm going to aggregate them. I'm going to group them depending on their days. So this is how you do it. This is a very simple query. What it basically says is I am extracting the date from the timestamp, this timestamp. So, and I will aggregate it according to the trip ID. So I'm just going to count the number of trips essentially. So then I group it. It says from, and this will tell you what project it is from. This is what data set it is. And this is the table ID, which you can see here. So I'll run it. You can see it actually takes about 2 seconds for this data set. Oops, did not run. And then just double check. Great, I think my internet has died. Yep, there you go. It's fine. So this one has been cached. because I ran it recently, but it's actually about 2 seconds-ish. So you can see here I have all the number of trips per on this date, etc., etc. Then I can save my results. So I can save it CSV. I can also save it as a JSON or a BigQuery probably. So I can save it somewhere. I'll call it bike share daily total. And there you have it. Yep, so it starts a job and that job copies it over to this data set. So you can see it's here and I can call upon it whenever I need it. Great. So going back. So there are many ways you can import data. So you can import it from the Cloud Console, which is what I did earlier from console.cloud.google.com. You can also import it from a public data set. So I imported from public data set from the Cloud Console. You can also use the API. So if you want to import things programmatically, there are some client libraries that you can use and they are available in these languages. More will probably come soon. And you can use Dataflow, which is a streaming, it's a streaming service for you to stream your data directly from your application. You can also use Data Transfer API if you have a YouTube channel or the Google Play where you have your viewer data and you would like to analyze it further. You can do that. So this is roughly how the client library looks like. So this is BigQuery. So essentially what you do is you create a new client, a new BigQuery client, then you create a query and you run it. It will return to you all the different rows and you can loop over them and do what you need. So there are many things you can use BigQuery for. One is to handle website analytics. So for example, if you use Google Analytics, it would keep track of your website's page views, the bounce rates, and you can use it to predict how well is your data doing, basically. There are other companies have been using it. So we have UPS there, American Eagle, 20th Century Fox, who've used BigQuery for their own data analytics platform. Twitter also uses it, and of course, Google. Yeah, so UPS uses it to predict the package volume. So that will help them in deploying workers where they need to. Maybe they predict the volume of packages will be higher in this particular location, this city. So they'll just deploy more maybe. So yeah, American Eagle have stored data there for marketing purposes, and 20th Century Fox uses machine learning to predict the moviegoer's interest and preference. There is actually a way of using machine learning in BigQuery called BigQuery ML, and we'll touch on that briefly later. So how does BigQuery keep your data secure? Firstly, it's encrypted at rest and in transit by default. And also you can manage your own encryption keys. This is for companies who have policies of managing their own keys. You can either, because you can either use Google's own keys or you can manage your own. So BigQuery allows you to do that. You can also use IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management policies. And this lets you sort out who can do what. So if you're collaborating with people on this, for example, in your team, you could have a data engineer who's responsible for putting data into BigQuery. Then you have data analysts or a marketer who wants to use the data to generate reports. You can say the data engineer is allowed to edit the data, but the marketer can only view the data. So you can assign appropriate permissions that way. Other thing you can do, you can partition and cluster tables. So what this does is it divides the tables into smaller segments. When you're streaming data in an application, you'll probably stream for a long period of time, like years even. So if you partition tables, they'll make querying faster because you partition by the timestamp. And you can just select, I want to query from this time to this time. And this helps improve query performance and controls the cost. You can have scheduled queries. So if you have data from maybe an application which tells you how much sales you have per day, you might want to generate a daily sales report. So you can schedule a query to run every day to generate a report for you. You can also set tables to expire. That's because sometimes you have data protection laws in countries where personally identified information must be deleted after a set period of time. So you can set tables to automatically expire so you don't have to handle that yourself. So remember when I mentioned BigQuery machine learning? So Galu has mentioned before you can use TensorFlow, Keras, things like that. But for BigQuery, data is structured, so you can actually use SQL to build your machine learning model. This is an example of the code. So essentially what you're doing here is you have data from a website and you're trying to predict whether or not this person, given their operating system, their mobile, their what country they're from, given the total page views, try and predict whether or not the person is likely to make a transaction. So 1 if yes, 0 if no. So you can create a model, you can evaluate it, and you can then predict data using SQL straight from BigQuery. So the benefits of this is you don't need to move data from here to TensorFlow. You can just do it all in BigQuery. You can also build your own models in TensorFlow and then import it here. So now you remember you have imported your data, you've run your query, and you've saved your results. What about visualizing it? You can do this. You can use Data Studio for this. It's a product by Google which lets you build interactive dashboards, and it's free to use. So you can see it's a very nice dashboard here. And the best thing is it's interactive. So that means you can actually click around it and the graphs will change accordingly. I'll show you a quick demo. So this is Data Studio. So when you go to datastudio.google.com. First thing you do is you import your data. So here we have, you can import your data from your own project, or you can import it from a public data set. So similar to earlier, remember you have a lot of publicly available data sets, so you can select them here. So I'm just going to pick my project first. For this data set, we'll be using the COVID-19 data set, which is free to use and query for the duration of up until, I can't remember this exact time, but you can look it up. But it's because of the pandemic, they allow you to use it free of charge. So you can use it to get some insights. So we'll be using the New York Times, I believe, data set, and it gives the total confirmed cases for certain US states, for all US states. So we're going to import the data. And Data Studio basically allows you to generate a report, and that's useful for you to show your superiors, for example. So here we have a table with the state names, and this is the record count, which is useless to us. We will instead put confirmed cases. So it will sum across all the confirmed cases. I might need to sort this according to the number of confirmed cases. There you go. So according to confirmed cases. So here, if you can't see, okay, I'll just make it bigger. Okay, now. So we can see New York has the highest number of confirmed cases within that period of time. This is not one day, this is through the whole time period. So we can also insert a bar chart, so that might make it easier for you to see. So we'll also put date and the state name and the number of confirmed cases. Style, I will put it as a horizontal, so you can see New York as clearly an outlier here, has a large number of confirmed COVID cases. Another cool thing you can do is have a geomap. So this lets you build, lets you show the data in a map. Okay. Please excuse my internet. There you go. So for geomap, you will need, your data will have to be in the geography format, but here you can see the state name here is currently ABC, which means it's a text format. So you have to turn that into a geography format, and what you do is you click edit here. You can edit your data source and you can change it to a geography format. So for the state name, I will convert it to geo, I'll convert it to region, and then it will recognize it as US states. So I will move this state name to the geo dimension. And you can see a nice map. So the darker hued one has more confirmed COVID cases. Now, it's a bit difficult to see the other states because New York is, the state of New York is such an outlier. So we'll try and filter that out. So we can insert filters, filter control, I'll put it here. And I will also insert a date range so that you can control which dates you want to view the data for. So now it's done, you can view it. If you click view, you can see this is what your report looks like. this is all, New York is currently included, so I can remove New York using the filter. So you can see New York is now gray, and it's clearer to see how the COVID cases in each state measure up against each other. You can see New York has disappeared because you filtered it. You can also select the date range. So you can say, I want it to start from the 15th to maybe 25th, okay, maybe 18th to 25th, and apply it, and it'll give you the data. So for the past week, there was about 600,000 plus in New Jersey, and so on and so forth. So that's Data Studio. Right, if you find all this helpful, there are some resources I would suggest for you to get started. BigQuery has a free quota, so 10 gigabytes storage and 1 terabyte querying with is free for monthly, free every month for you to use. You just have to go to the BigQuery sandbox. It doesn't require a credit card. Documentation is available here, and if you want to try out Data Studio, it's free. You don't have to just use Data Studio with BigQuery. You can use it with Google Sheets, with Disk Spanner, with a lot of different data sources. Yep, and that's all from me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now, or you can find me on Twitter. Thank you.
Thanks, Xin-Ying, for your lovely presentation. So I will be reading out your questions now. We have a few questions on Slido.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just gonna say it in order, okay? So the first question, in what format do you advise for a data set?
Okay, so it depends on the data. So the most important thing is you need to keep your data clean. And if you're thinking about the columns, it depends on the situation. So if you're getting data from, for example, the bike share trip, what's important is you have to think of the future. What do you want to get from the data? So likely you want to know how long a trip took, from where to where a trip took. So you gather that data and make sure it's formatted correctly, and then you can put it in a nice table. So make sure it's structured. And if you're asking, how do you know what columns to include? You'll have to, it depends on the situation. Why are you muted? I think I'm muted.
Thank you. Don't shut me up. Anyways, so okay, next question. Any difference between BigQuery and Power BI?
Okay, so BigQuery is the data analytics part, which stores the data, and you can use it to query. BI engine is something you use to, oh wait, sorry. Is this BI engine, or is this the, when you mention Power BI, you mean the Microsoft Power BI, is that right? I'm not very certain about Power BI because I don't really use it, but it seems like it provides interactive visualization. So maybe it's good to consider with Data Studio. Might be similar, but I'm not really sure. I don't really use it.
Okay, I don't know the answer either, so.
You can look it up. I'm sure someone has posted about it.
Okay, next question. Which programming language you use when you create query in BigQuery? And I wonder, is it free or you need to pay for any licenses?
Okay, so you're using SQL. So if you know SQL, you can use it here. It's specifically using standard SQL, but it's very transferable. You do not need to pay for any licenses. The BigQuery is free to use up to the free quota. After that, you'll probably pay by the amount of data that you process, so per terabyte or something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe if you have like the pricing plan, you can put it up on the chat for people to reference it. So someone that asked to confirm if BigQuery uses SQL commands, and the answer is yes. So also another person asked, is it free to use BigQuery Google? But you've already mentioned that. So the next question is, what programming language can be used best for web development to integrate with BigQuery?
So BigQuery has a lot of client libraries, so you can use that. I think I've mentioned there was C#, there was Go, I'm not sure there's JavaScript. There's a lot you can use, but yeah, Let me try and find the slide.
Also, for those people asking about the slides, yes, they will be shared after the presentation. So as long as you registered through the link that we gave on Meetup as well, then we can send you via email all the slides.
Mm-hmm. For BigQuery, technically, you would you probably build your own application and then send the data to BigQuery using one of the client libraries, and then you can process your data from there.
Okay. I don't think there is any more questions so far. Yeah, so far that's all the questions that's been asked on the Slido. But if you guys have any more questions, you can either put it on the group chat or also on Slido. And also later we'll be sharing contact information for the two speakers, so that if you have any questions post event, then you can, always just email them. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we can move on to the last quiz competition for the day, which will be based on the talk that Tingyin just gave. So if you really paid attention to all her talk, like all parts of the talk, including the visual, like all her presentation, because the quiz might be on that. So let me just share my screen for the competition. And I will put up the song, because I don't know, I feel like the song is part of the thing that gives you the nerve-wracking feeling. Okay. Let me just set up the song. In the meantime, yeah, please. Oh, I have to mute it here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So sign up. Oh, someone just put their name as H. That's going to be hard to identify. I'm just gonna wait for a few more people, I think. I'm just gonna wait for a few more people. So people logging in. Okay, any more? Like no one else is coming. People sending something on the chat. Okay, someone said that she's H in Kahoot, but she's signing in, but now both names are there. Maybe you get 2 chances of winning now. Okay, I hope that everyone's logged in now. I'm gonna start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, first question. The first one to click on green will get the most points. So this is only the test round. Fast fingers, fast fingers. A few more people. Come on. You just have to click green. One more person, is it? Yay. Yay, everyone got it right. Applause. Okay, but you don't get points, just streaks. Currently, Hafiza has the fastest finger, and next is Oscar. Okay, first real question. How many rows can BigQuery hold? Were you paying attention? Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce that number. 200 billion. No limit. BigQuery is scalable. Yeah. So let's see who got. Ooh, Chelsea. We see her on the scoreboard again. Nice. Okay. Next question. Which is not a way to transfer data into BigQuery? Which one? Not a way, by the way. Come on. Are you Googling the answer? Wow, nice. A lot of people pay attention. Next question. Wow, null. Null has the highest answer streak of 3. Okay, next question. The 3 steps to using BigQuery are 3 steps. You import the data first. You clean the data first. Nice. No one answered to clean the data, even though this is like, you know, the pandemic and all. Anyway, so no, step down 2 places. Now it's Muaz. I think Muaz was one of our volunteers for DevFest last time. Good job, Muaz. Okay, next question. What language do you use to write a query? Is it the Queen's English? One more person. Ding, ding, ding. We're waiting for one more person to answer. Yeah, someone asked the question again, so I think that's why you guys remember. Muaz stepped down, Noel stepped up, and now it's Sheila. I think Sheila was our speaker for International Women's Day. So next question, what can you use to build reports and visualize results? Is it the report maker? Because, you know, you see the word report there. Is it not as obvious? And maybe it's the graph maker. Yay, it's neither. But yeah, you got it right. Data Studio. A lot of people got it right. Sheila is still leading. Muaz and Noel is competing with each other. What does IAM stand for? Is it pronounced I am? Is it I am magnificent? Yes, you are. Let's see if anyone answered that. I want to give a prize to the person who answered that. Oh, no one answered that. Oh, close call. It's identity and access management. Yeah, can be confusing. Muaz leading again. Sheila, okay. Next question. What do you use to create and execute machine learning models with BigQuery machine learning? Make a quick guess. 3 more, 2 more. Yay! Next question. Zira has a streak with 8 correct answers in a row. Okay, next one. What's the free quota to use BigQuery Sandbox? Oh, do you remember this? Was it yearly? Was it weekly? Was it bi-weekly? Was it monthly? Oh, nice. Most people got the right answer. It's monthly. Sheila still reading. Lost a few names there. I think like a few people stepped down the scoreboard. Next question. I want to get started with BigQuery. What can I do? Is it all of the above? You find tutorials on YouTube? You try the BigQuery sandbox? One more person. Come on, just answer anything. Okay, all of the above. Yep. Okay, next question. Oh, Sheila stepped down too, and Muaz is back up again. Okay, this one's a fun one. Let's see who paid attention. An animal appeared once in the entire slide. What was it holding? Was it a knife? What was the animal? Do you remember? I actually don't remember what was the animal. Okay, the animal, whatever it is, was holding keys. Not a lot of people got it. Was it a goose holding a key? I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people said the Twitter bird. Next. Oh, it's the end of it. I didn't even realize. So the winner is Hazira. And second is Muaz. And then third is Sheila. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. And then email it to Maj. I think she sent her email in the chat. I think she can resend it again later so that you guys remember where to send it to claim your prizes. Congratulations to all of the winners for today. For those who didn't win, I'm sorry, but next time maybe we'll have another quiz competition. But yeah, good job. Wow, Zira got 11 out of 11. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. So that's actually the end. That marks the end of our event, and we went slightly off by 4 minutes because we were supposed to end at 11:45, and we also took out your break. So I'm sorry for that, but you guys can have your break after this. So yeah, so other than this, we also want to share. I'm gonna share my screen again. The feedback link. So this is the feedback link. We will also email this to you after the event so that you guys can send us any feedbacks, good or bad, constructive feedback, so that we can improve for the next one. I'm not sure if there will be another online event because it looks like a lot of people seem to enjoy this. So if you want more online events, maybe you can just put that in the feedback form. And so before we end this, I'm going to, oh wait, I think I wanted, so for the YouTube stream, some of you did ask me if whether, you can watch it on YouTube after the post-event. So you guys can, actually, it's already streamed on YouTube now via this link. You can go to this link and watch it again in case you need to revise. But because we had a slight technical issue, the Zoom bomb, so we might have, YouTube might take down the video, or we might take it down ourselves, like download it first, remove the part where that happened and re-upload it again, and we will send you the link via email. So make sure you register via the Google form that we that's on our meetup as well, so that we have your email address. So before we end this, I'll be passing the screen back to Maj for the closing remarks. Maj.
Hello, hi. Am I visible on the screen? Can't tell. Hi guys. So thank you for today. I hope everybody had a good time, and also thank you to Galo and Sinying for their really informative talk. So you guys can get in touch with them. We'll share their contact details after this. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, reminder to please join us in our online competition. So we have this. It's a competition where you can share your favorite female ICT figure on Instagram and just tell us how she inspires you in the caption, and you could win a Lenovo Tab E7. There are terms and conditions, so you will need to follow us at aiti.brunei and Women Tech Makers to find out more. Sorry, I should keep that up, right? Let me just put that back up. Yeah, and I think that's all for me. I hope you guys got everything. Thank you and stay safe. Back to Ida.
Okay, thanks much. Big thank you to AITI as well for actually this is an event that they do yearly, and this year they're collaborating with us, Women Techmakers, as well as GDG Brunei. So thank you for the opportunity as well. Thank you for everyone for cooperating and being such great participants in the event. So for those people, because I do have people asking me, you know, who should they post about on for the competition where you get a chance to win a tablet. You know, I wish I could join, but yeah. So I think throughout the quiz competition, we did give out some names like Carly Claus, you know, like, just to name a few, even like Margaret Hamilton, the woman who allowed you know, the rocket to land on the moon and come back safely. So maybe you guys, you know, are inspired by that. So look through like Google and all that just to find out more about them. And that would be the end of the event. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to just chat on the like group chat. For anyone who hasn't found the group chat, because I did have a hard time looking for it, you can just click Control H. And yeah, just chat with other people here. We're gonna leave the session online until 12:30. Yeah, and feel free to unmute yourself as well if you wanna just talk amongst each other. But you know, maybe like I can pass the